G'day world, I'm Korum E, the electric plane guy. I've been a little bit quiet on the channel for the past few months. I apologize, I haven't put out many videos. We've been really busy with a lot of things in the business, which has been awesome and amazing. Also, the silly season took up some time with the fam. We've got some really awesome announcements to put out soon. The big things we've been working on in the business, which has taken up a lot of my time. We're excited to get that out shortly after we sign a few more NDAs and agree on some media releases. But today I wanted to start getting back into the video content, and I've decided this year too I'm going to lean into a little bit more of our broader story. Often I'm just sharing our successes and our milestones and everything we're achieving with electric aviation in Australia as the industry grows. But there are a lot of setbacks, a lot of challenges and bottlenecks that we run into as well, and I'm not often communicating those. So this year I'm going to try and do a bit of a broader spectrum of all of the things that we're working on in electric aviation and all of the challenges and hiccups that we come across in supply chains, in regulation, some of the red tape that we're having to work through, and some of the early adoption challenges and supply chain restrictions and skill shortages that we're having as well. All of this is important to the broad story, and I don't want to give the impression that everything's just breezing along nicely. We are growing well, and electric aviation is working fantastically in Australia and in other regions in the world, but it's not all peaches and roses. There are some challenges, so I'm going to share more of that in the video content this year, and hopefully that gives you a bit more of an overview of what it's like to introduce a new technology into an aging industry, and we're having to work through to get this done and make some positive changes. But today, while I'm here with this thing whistling behind me in the background, I want to talk to you and show you a little bit more about our latest generation charge cart, which is something we've just been developing over the past year or two to refine and try and get a broader scope of operations out of the electric aircraft in Western Australia, where it's very hot. So a critical part of recharging any battery, which a lot of you will know from your electric cars and maybe anyone that's working in the drone space, is thermal management of the battery during the charge cycle and the discharge cycle. The aircraft has things on board to help with thermal management during the discharge cycle, including pilot behavior and cooling, forced ram air cooling through inlets on the batteries. And of course, when you're at height and at speed, there's a lot of cool air coming through the system to cool the batteries. But on the ground, particularly in Western Australia in summer, where it is hot all the time. We've got 30 to 40 degree days, are pretty regular in the summer period in Western Australia. Celsius, of course, not Fahrenheit. And that means that when we go to plug in our aircraft, particularly straight after a flight, the awesome Pipistrel Alpha Electro, the batteries are warm. And then a byproduct of charging, when we connect a charger, is more heat develops in the batteries. Now, to overcome that, because aircraft is stationary and there's no cool air being pushed through the batteries from our airflow in flight, we've put together a thermally managed, it's a charge cart, we call it. It's a thermally managed charge cart with the original Pipistrel charger modified for added cooling characteristics as well, and then with a cooling system on board which plumbs in via these tubes cooled air directly into the battery inlets and just manages the ambient temperature of the batteries with the air inside the battery cases, blasting cool air in and cooling them as we go. Now that has compressed our charge cycle to sub 50 minutes, so we're 50 minutes between missions before we can turn around and fly again, and that's with just a 20 kilowatt charger. So that's keeping things very efficient. There's not a lot of wastage there at all, and that's letting us do a couple of other clever things too. So on a particularly warm day when we want to fly a mission, let's say we've gone flying, the batteries get warm, then we come back and want to plug in the charger. The charger will lower the power, the temperature of the batteries during the charge cycle, but also when the charge cycle is finished and the charger winds right back, it's winding back now, it's just got down to only injecting 3 kilowatts into the system. That's producing less heat than the 20 kilowatts that it starts at as it rolls back and the batteries get to their highest state of charge point. Now the cooling system can be more effective because less current's flowing into the batteries, less heat is being developed, and the cooler can be more effective at reducing the heat that's left in there. Now when the charger finishes its cycle and we leave the cooling on, it will then precondition the batteries and drop them below ambient temperature. So when we fly our next sortie, let's say the ambient temperature is 32 degrees Celsius, we might have the batteries down at 28 degrees Celsius. So we get a little bit of a head start on the battery cooling before we've even left the ground. And that makes a big difference because about every 1,000 foot of climb, we're developing 4 to 5 degrees of heat in the battery. So by adjusting them by a few degrees before we take off, it gives us a wider range of operations and we can fly more frequently in summer. Now, this is something I really want to highlight. I can't express it enough to all of the electric aircraft developers out there, anyone considering adopting electric aircraft or developing ground infrastructure with our ground infrastructure partners that we work with and build electric airports with already. You must factor in active thermal management while the aircraft is on the ground, anywhere at sea level and anywhere where you're in a warmer climate, or you will just have interrupted operations. Your charge cycle will be extended and your battery life will be compressed and you won't get the economics out of the electric aircraft that you want. The active thermal management on the ground is absolutely critical to successful electric aircraft operations. So please, anyone planning, anyone thinking about infrastructure or planning operations at some time in the future, you must factor this in. It's just as important as the charge cycle itself. Bringing the temperature of the batteries down during the charge cycle is critical for your successful operations. We see some manufacturers building this into their systems and design, and we see some manufacturers not. And that's going to be an added challenge that operators will need to overcome, like we have here. Pipistrel made a brilliant aircraft which works in cooler climates, but in our hotter climates, we needed to make adaptations to keep it effective. Aircraft that are bigger than this and have bigger battery systems will have more heat due to more power and faster charging requirements, and also eVTOL aircraft that have really high power output on ascent and descent will have even more thermal management requirements. So just keep that in mind for any sort of planning. Also, please reach out if you are considering planning any ground infrastructure. We're absolute experts on the subject. We build and manage chargers, not only adapt and modify Pipistrel chargers to work more effectively, but charge partner Electro Aero builds some of the world's best electric aircraft chargers from scratch. They're more compact and higher output and better thermal management than most other chargers you'll find on the market, and they're absolutely stellar. And they do supply to some of the biggest electric aircraft manufacturers in the world already, like Archer Aviation, FlyOnE, eVTOL, and many, many others. So reach out to us if you've got questions and need help with planning and infrastructure development, and if you're thinking about adopting electric, we'd love to help you do that. It's an absolute fantastic way to fly, and we hope you get to experience it soon. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps the channel grow. Throw in a comment, give context for others. We do like to interact and we do want to answer your questions. Thanks again. Talk to you soon.